Hey guys, and welcome to Boyz Houze Take the Floor. We're back. Well, I'm back. Tommy K and Jesse already had a pre-scheduled out-of-state business little venture, so you won't be seeing them tonight, but they'll be back, I believe, next week. So, what happened over the break? So last time you guys saw us was right before Easter. Easter, which should have been a fun occasion, was the day that changed all of our lives in the house. If you haven't seen on the channel or heard through our social media already, on Easter, which is crazy, one of the members of Boyz Houze passed away. So we took extra time off because we were dealing with all the arrangements that surrounded that and the emotions, obviously. If you have any questions about that, you can either privately message us, or you know how to hit us up on boyzhouse.com or through the social media, and we will give you more information on that. But I think we're going to dedicate all the remaining shows of this season to James. So you'll see that at the end of every episode. So, what happened in the world over break? A lot has been going on. We missed a lot. I had a lot to talk about. There was a lot in the news. The big news, DMX and Prince Philip also died over our little hiatus. A lot of death recently. I've had a lot of close friends with family members and friends who have passed away recently. I don't know what's going on. Mercury is in retrograde. It seems to be perpetually in retrograde. I don't know when we're going to get out of it. So condolences to everyone around, because it seems like it's been a very depressing season. So hopefully summer's going to be a lot better for everybody. Other big thing in the news, Derek Chauvin found guilty. I would say that's pretty historic verdict. But remember, we still have to wait for sentencing, because a guilty verdict really doesn't mean much if they put him in jail for 5 years. So let's see. I know there's minimums on everything, but let's see what happens. And to me, more important than the sentencing is, will anything change? Literally, while the trial was going on, you guys seen all over the news still. All the violence, the police brutality, the killings still. The one cop who accidentally, and I believe it was an accident. The fact that it was an accident or whether it wasn't an accident is not even the issue. The issue that this was a 26-year veteran cop who had been training other police officers at the time in which she couldn't figure out the difference between a Glock 17 with a double locking trigger and a neon colored taser. And she's training police. It's not an issue whether or not it was an accident or not. The issue that she doesn't know the difference between a taser, and we got through all those steps and you still killed someone while you're training other police officers. And the big kicker for me is you pulled the person over because they had an air freshener dangling from their mirror, which is obviously a nonsense law that was even put into place so that we have a nonsense reason to pull people over. Now, if you're a cop who has some sort of discriminatory bigotry and unconscious bias living in you, oh, you use that stupid law a lot to pull certain types of people over. And then look what happens, because you don't know the difference between a taser and a Glock 17. So, will this change anything, is the question. And from what I've seen, while this trial has been going on, I'm not sure if it will change anything. But the important thing now is a lot of people are actually paying attention. And what I also want to point out, that individual now getting even more lighter complected than I am. So I predict that people are going to start caring really soon. Because they used to be very dark chalkboard black people who were being killed, and then they started to be slightly almond colored black people who were being killed, Now the people who are being killed starting to look very Caucasian complected. What's probably going to start happening is more white people are going to start getting shot by the police, because the issue seems to be the police have a chip on their shoulder. And there was a big issue with LeBron James tweeting accountability, the word accountability, and a picture. And he took it down because obviously what he meant behind it and his thought process obviously wasn't different than maybe some other people read it. But putting up the word accountability is not really divisive. It's not at all profound. It wasn't groundbreaking. And it wasn't really headline news. And then it started to dawn on me, there is maybe an entire population of people who for some reason believe that police officers, because of either the position that we've given them in society over the course of hundreds of years, that what police officers do does not have to be accounted for. The bottom line is, I think people have it twisted. I don't care who you are in this country. Black, white, woman, male, if you're a cop, if you're a regular citizen, if you work for the military or the government. If you kill someone, you need to be held accountable. Now, that doesn't mean every cop who kills someone is a murderer. However, every time you take someone's life, you need to be accountable as to why that actually occurred. Whether it was your fault, their fault, whether it should have happened, shouldn't have happened, whether it was an accident, whether it was on purpose, whether there was a bias involved, all of that should be investigated every time someone's life is taken. And apparently, there's a sector of you out there who just don't think that for some reason, whatever that is for you, police officers have to be accountable when they take someone's life. And that's the issue. And you need to address that with yourself. Will that change? And Colton Underwood, The Bachelor, as you guys know, I don't watch The Bachelor. Every time you guys talk to me about The Bachelor, I tell you, I don't talk about The Bachelor. But I did remember watching a few episodes of that season. Just either on other shows that I was watching, they showed clips or whatever the case may be. And I'm glad he finally came to that conclusion, because many of us had already made that leap. But that's, I guess, a private, personal journey, and you gotta make that decision for yourself. But a lot of us are already there with you. I do find it a little interesting, though, that you announce this, and then, conveniently, you also announce there will be a reality show on Netflix. But congratulations to you for living your truth. Other big news over the break was the blood clot situation with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Let me first off say that a lot of the stuff I've been hearing has been crazy. Like, now I told you guys you shouldn't get the vaccine. This is exactly why you shouldn't get the vaccine. I saw on certain news networks they were using this as a reason to not trust the vaccine, to not trust the CDC and everything else. Because at the time, one person out of, I don't know, the hundreds of thousands who had gotten that vaccine had experienced some sort of medical issue. And now I think we're up to 6 people out of all of those people who have experienced that similar clotting issue. So, do we get to 1 million people dead from the coronavirus? Like, is COVID scary to you, or is the vaccine more scary to you? Because you guys seem to be confused or unintelligent, but you're confusing me. So, pick one. You want to die from the virus, or you want to be one of the 0.00000 like percent that might possibly have a medical issue because of the vaccine? Which was, by the way, the least distributed vaccine of all of the vaccines that we have available to us. Like, come on. Let's start using some analytical thinking. Or just logical thinking. And the other thing I keep seeing with everyone who gets the vaccine is all the tracker comments. Like, I get some of them are like very tongue-in-cheek, you're being sarcastic, but to me, the tracker situation that you guys keep bringing up is crazy because you got some really big egos to think that you're so important and that you have anything going on in your life that anybody wants to be tracking you. What exactly are you doing that they need to be tracking you? Now, if you had some criminal activity going on, then maybe you should be worried about getting the vaccine if you think there's a tracker in it. But most of you lead pretty basic lives, so let's settle down with your ego, because there's nothing going on in your life that our government wants to track you for. And I say it over, it's like one of my catchphrases. There's 321 million people plus in this country. You think they could keep track of us? How big do you think our government is? What is the, like, come on. You know all the things that have occurred? That if they really had that great of a handle on tracking things, they probably would have prevented. But somehow your life is so remarkable that they're tracking you. Whatever you say. Now this week the big news has been Fox News and their fake news stories, and the New York Post, Rupert Murdoch's other big news corporation. All the fake news stories. Weren't they the ones always talking about how there's so much fake news? Like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I had a lot of people telling me about how that network was the only network that had the real news. I mean, that was never true, but that's what I was being told. And now look, all the people on the network who had so much to say about fake news are now broadcasting fake news. And that's not to say that they weren't in previous years, but now they've been just broadcasting entirely made up stories with no sort of basis in fact whatsoever. I don't have anything to say about that. I just let the actual reality and facts speak for themselves, but I find it very ironic. I find that very ironic too. You can read it two ways, guys. That's all I got for you guys tonight. It seemed like it went by really quickly. Like I said, Tommy K and Jesse are out of the state on business, so you won't see them tonight. I think you'll see them next week. So enjoy some of the rest of our channel. Make sure you guys subscribe. Get your friends to subscribe. Make sure you're liking us on Facebook. You follow us on Instagram. And very, very soon you're going to actually start seeing a lot more content from us on Snapchat. So stay tuned for that. And as always, you guys have a good night. Thank you guys. See you next week.